Need a complete set of camera lenses but don't have thousands of dollars to invest? Have a look at these. Everything here is in my kit. I use them in a professional setting, I use them for paying clients, and yeah, you can too. Number 1, Vivitar 19mm f3.8. Recommendation, high. This is a good, clean wide. In terms of sharpness, it's slightly above average, at least in its price range. Little to no distortion or fisheye, and likewise minimal vignetting. It's got the X factor. You can't quite put your finger on what you like so much about it. It's just good. Next up, Bushnell 28mm f2.8. Recommendation, low. Like, low. Supposedly there are good and bad copies of this lens out there. Take your chances. Mine's not particularly bad, it's just meh. It's a little too soft for practical use. It's not one I feel like I can rely on for professional use. Enough said. If there's anything I do like about this lens, it's that you can get some swirly bokeh out of it. But overall, like my old cinematography professor from film school would say, it's ugly. Moving on. Next is the Yashica ML50mm f1.9. Recommendation, medium? Yashica makes a good lens. They also make a bad lens. Just make sure, and I mean make sure, the one you get says ML and not DSB. The quality can plummet, but this might just be the best bargain lens in my kit. It'll only set you back about 30 bucks. It's a cheap wonder. If you like swirly bokeh, and who the doesn't, this guy for the win. What I don't like is that it definitely feels as cheap as it costs. It's mostly plastic. Alright, now for the big guns. Super Takumar 55mm f1.8. Recommendation, through the roof. Do you need a 50 and a 55 in your kit? No. No you don't. So, if you're deciding between this one and the Yashica, it comes down to this. For bokeh, Yashica. But if it's lens flares you're after, it's gonna be this guy. It's gonna be this guy. I shouldn't have done that. I'm sorry. It's also radioactive, so there's that. Its radioactivity shouldn't hurt you unless you plan to eat it. If you take a lot of portraits, this guy has beautiful depth of field. And speaking of portraits, number 6. Super Takumar 135mm f3.5. Recommendation, higher than Snoop Dogg. In the 80s. It's pretty high. The bokeh monster. The king of contrast. Depth of field. This is the first and last portrait lens you will ever need. You could use this 70-year-old beast for the rest of your career if you wanted to, especially since it's built like a friggin' tank. That's all.